The Procurator Fiscal has asked officers to provide a report on the alleged assault involving McLean and BBC reporter John Barnes at the end of United's match against Hearts on Saturday.
For the first time in some 30 years, a working day at Tannadice Park without the official involvement of Jim McLean. The ramifications of the incident which led to his resignation have yet to fully sink in. The former chairman was heading for the golf course as the police announced that they'd been asked by the Procurator Fiscal to investigate his alleged assault on BBC reporter John Barnes. For the management and playing staff, already under the cosh after Saturday's defeat against Hearts, it's now a case of trying to emerge from what appears to be a crisis.
I think they'd be entitled to feel that at this particular stage. Dundee United's in a position that they're not used to. We didn't play well on Saturday at all. We lost the game. We deserved to lose the game. The situations over the weekend, it would be easy for people to say that we're in a crisis, but from a crisis you can build, and we have got to build from this last few days, and we've got to get on with things. We have some good players here. We've got an excellent staff. The club is well run, it's got a great structure, and it's up to us to take it forward. We need the help of the supporters more than anybody at this stage.
Meanwhile, the Dundee-based businessman who's campaigned for changes in the United board has said the club is facing its biggest crisis in 35 years. But grocery company tycoon Eddie Thompson, whose calls for fresh faces and new investment have previously been rebuffed, says that Jim McLean's departure represents a window of opportunity for the club. He's calling on fans to unite behind a change in direction and says it's vital that United are not relegated.
I think that the board will have to look at bringing in some fresh people with new ideas, people who they believe could lift the club forward. Obviously, I would be interested in purchasing some of Mr McLean's shares, and maybe he doesn't want me to do that. What he's got to do, and what the board's got to do, and what everyone's got to do is think of the Dundee United Football Club. That club is bigger than Jim McLean, it's bigger than Eddie Thompson, it's the club that counts.
If Eddie Thompson had a say, he'd appoint a chief executive to run the club on a day-to-day basis. He's previously pledged £1 million of his own money, though some have suggested that's peanuts in today's terms.
Yes, I've heard all this before. In actual fact, what I would like to put in and what other people like to put in is far more than money. People tend to forget that in the last 2 years, I believe we spent over £3 million for players, and yet where are we? It's not the money you've got, it's the way you use it. And I believe in addition to the money which I would bring in, we would also have a locally based supporters share issue, we'd have a supporters trust, and you're talking about a few million pounds. But the money is not the important thing at the moment. It's the drive, it's the motivation, it's the desire to win for the Dundee United.
The United board meet tomorrow with no Jim McLean at the helm. Until they know where his shares are going, it's thought they can't make any hard and fast decisions. So it's highly unlikely there will be any immediate moves over the club's future.
Jim McLean. Barnes is deciding whether or not to take legal action over the incident, which followed this post-match exchange.
He picks his team on the park and he picks his team off the park, and there's no doubts at all that if I'm passing the buck, then I'm passing the buck. I say again, there is absolutely no way that I will walk away from this situation.
How long do you give Alex Smith to get it right on the park?
Well, you think I'm going to answer a stupid question like that?
I'm only asking it.
Well, I told you earlier I wouldn't be answering it. And make sure that that's cut. And I'll tell you something, don't ever offer me that again.
He's volatile, everybody knows that. But that was just one of these things that happens in a split second, and we can all be judges of that and think it might not happen to us, but it could. So we shouldn't act as judge and jury to situations like that at all.
It's not to be condoned, though, I dare say.
No, it's not to be condoned. Everybody realises that. Jim realises that more than anybody.
Further, Tayside police have been called in to investigate Saturday's incident in which Dundee United chairman Jim McLean punched a BBC reporter. McLean's decision to resign spells the end of an era in the city as the man who has virtually single-handedly run the Tannadice club over 3 decades steps down.
At training today, they'd lost a chairman who'd managed the club to its greatest heights and controlled it in its current depths. But some of the present Dundee United squad are so young the glory days are too far in the past. All they've known is football in the Premier League basement. Manager Alex Smith made no attempt to hide from Saturday's events. He said he couldn't condone violence on or off the pitch and was sympathetic to the BBC reporter who was the victim of the attack. But he also praised what he called the unbelievable and outstanding record of Jim McLean. After Saturday's heavy defeat to Hearts, it could have been the manager in place for the post-match interview. But it fell to the chairman because he felt an angry crowd gathering outside Tannadice merited it.
How long do you give Alex Smith to get it right on the park?
Well, you think I'm going to answer a stupid question like that?
I'm only asking it.
Well,
Could you
I
do
told you earlier I wouldn't be answering it. And make sure that that's cut. And I'll tell you something. Don't ever offer me that again.
Once police have interviewed all those involved, it'll be up to the Procurator Fiscal to decide on any legal proceedings. The Scottish Football Association will put the incident before one of its key committees next week. In spite of Jim McLean's previous brushes with officialdom, many observers are still ready tonight to praise his footballing talents.
I felt that Jim McLean could have gone on to become a Scotland manager, but he made too many enemies at the SFA for that to have occurred. But Jock Stein saw his talents and actually attempted in many ways to bring them to the surface on an international scene. It wasn't to be though.
So what is needed to steer Dundee United out of the crisis? One businessman waiting in the wings wants to buy Jim McLean's shares and then lead a consortium which would inject over £5 million in all to Tannadice.
No one man is more important, whether it be Jim McLean or Eddie Thompson, than this football club. I'll do anything to help Dundee United.
Those close to Jim McLean say he will not sell his family's shares to the Stores Supremo. What's also certain is that no one wealthy individual will be brought in to take the club forward. Much more likely appears to be the appointment of a chief executive who'd work alongside a new club chairman. Dundee United's board say they want time to make up their minds. The next match for the Tannadice club, without a win in front of their own fans since December, is against Celtic at Parkhead. Alan Mackay reporting, Scotland, Dundee.